Hi, and welcome to another edition of Inside Lowell. And this Inside Lowell podcast is coming to you from WellPoint Studios. WellPoint, the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. And welcome to another edition of Inside Lowell with tea time. I'm super excited to introduce my guests for this edition of our podcast. I have with me Scott Hyder and Chris Hurst from Hidden Battles. Welcome, gentlemen.
How are you?
I'm
Thank
wonderful.
You. Well,
I'm so excited for this.
I was
know
over
we
here.
talked about
I'm
it.
over here looking at all the stuff and I'm chewing on my glasses like I'm studious. And I'm like, oh, that's not me.
You gotta look the part.
Yeah, no. And then I dropped my phone, so we just erased that right off the bat.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you guys both so much for being here, and I'm really happy to have you guys on my next edition. So this is my third, so it's like a trifecta.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you guys are lucky number 3.
We're excited.
Like the Holy
heard
Grail.
Yeah, 3 people, 3. Yeah, it's nice.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
third time. You're right. This is the charm, and you guys are obviously charms as well. But I would just love to again welcome you guys here, and just chat with the community to let them know about Hidden Battles and what the mission is with your organization, what events you've got coming up, what we can expect, and just ways also that people can get involved as well. So,
Perfect.
Scott, I can start with you first, and you can just tell me about how this came to be, because I know that you're the founder, both you and your wife working, because you know what they say, behind every great man is a woman in front of him.
Yeah.
So shout out to Leslie.
It's a good thing that she's shorter than me because that people wouldn't see her there all the time. So I am the founder. I'm Scott Hyder. I'm a veteran and a retired police officer. We started Hidden Battles after the death of my brother. My brother had committed suicide in 2012. Prior to that, we were doing suicide prevention because I had lost a coworker to suicide. So we did some fundraisers, and then I started getting more involved, thinking like, we should start educating people and letting them know that there's resources out there and stuff like that. So we started doing a lot of fundraising and suicide prevention walks and stuff like that. And then after my brother took his life, I was like, yeah, we need to do a little more. But during that transition, so my brother took his life in 2012, and then we started Hidden Battles in 2017 because I did not realize that 5 years was really like deteriorating my mental health. And I was starting to get like depression and anxiety, and I was starting to get edgy, and and I didn't realize what was happening to me because I didn't know signs and symptoms. I wasn't as educated as I am now about it. So in 2017, I was in a car crash that ended my police career, and while I was out of work, not having anything stable, not knowing if I was going back to work or what was going to come of me, I had a neck injury. My depression had really gotten bad. So I started reaching out to some of my Army buddies because I was afraid in the law enforcement world and first responders, there's a thing called unfit for duty. And when it comes to mental health, they worry that there's their livelihood being taken away from them. So I would not reach out to my police friends. I would reach out to my military friends. So I started reaching out to my Army buddies. And one of my buddies, Bill, he's a fitness fanatic. I reached out to him and I said, I'm not doing well. And Bill said, well, you got to get off the couch. But he used some wonderful, colorful words. And he said, I said, I got neck injuries. Like, your legs work? I said, yeah. He goes, start walking. So I started to ruck. And rucking is weighted backpacks. It's a military term. It's symbolic because I'm literally carrying all my junk around with me, all my baggage. And so I started doing rucking. I started feeling better. And I said, you know what? I feel better. And my wife, Leslie, said, well, you seem better. And I said, yeah. So I went online and I started putting out in the military groups saying, hey, my name's Scott. I'm an Army veteran. I'm dealing with some issues. If you're like me, meet me. This is where I am every Wednesday night. So at the time I was living in Lowell, and we would meet up at Vandenberg Park, and we would walk a 5K loop. And by like week 6, I had like 20 veterans with me and all wearing rucks. And I'm like, all right, so this isn't just me. Like, this is something that needs to be done. It's bigger. And what we didn't realize was by doing that, we're starting to form a community. We're starting to form a community of like-minded people. So my wife said, well, you're not at work. Why don't you do something? Do what you wanted to do for your brother. And originally we started with thinking we're going to do a scholarship. We're going to raise money in his name, and we're going to send somebody to school for mental health. My brother's a corrections officer, criminal justice, nursing or fire science for firefighters. So we wanted to get veterans and first responders involved. We put the website up, and it was a mess. But our friend Dave, who is his daughter was on the soccer team with my daughter Marissa, he said, "Let me take care of your site," and he put this amazing site up. I had talked to a friend of mine, Patty Mason from Westford, and I said, "This is what we want to do. We want to do a scholarship fund." She's like, "You have to go to Greater Lowell Community Foundation. They'll handle the whole thing for you." I'm like, "All right." We meet with them. We're like, "We just want to do a scholarship fund." I get a call like 3 days later, and she's like, "You just got a big anonymous check." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What's big?" And I'm not gonna say the number,
Right.
but it was scholarship fund for a long time. And I said, "Well, now what are we going to do?" I'm like, so we sat and talked and we said, well, maybe we should do activities. Maybe we should do things that are going to draw people off the couch, like Bill told me, and start to do stuff together in like-minded communities. And I don't like safe space, but in a place that we're comfortable with each other. We're comfortable in our skin and know that we're flawed and we're damaged a little, you know? And I said, all right. So starting to try to navigate this social media thing. I'm 50, I'm not young. I said, who can help me? And I was like, who can help me? And I call up Chris. I said, Chris, you know social media. And Chris is 20 years younger than me. He goes, yeah, what are you doing? And I just gave him everything I just told you.
And did
he's
he
like,
laugh?
and he's like, oh, no, I'm on board.
Yeah.
So the wonderful thing about Chris and I's relationship is we became friends when he was like 12.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Chris was always coming to the safety fairs at the farmers market, and Chris was on the farmers market committee for Westford, and I was the safety officer. Excuse me. And I would set up my safety stuff, and I did car seat checkpoints. Well, Chris had listened so much that pretty soon he was doing helmet fittings and car seat stuff when I was doing car seats. So we had become friendly, and every time I saw him, I'd say, "Hey, Officer Hyder," I'm like, "Just call me Scott," whatever. So graduates from high school, goes on to college, and we always stayed in touch and became friends. So I reach out to him like, "Buddy, I need some help with this." And he's really laughing at me. He's like, yeah, it's done. I'm like, "What do you mean it's done?" It's like, "I got you a Facebook page." And I'm like, wow. So I'm like, "Hey, you want to help out more?" And he did. Ever since that, he has now been like I've dubbed him the Swiss Army knife of hidden battles, because whatever I need, he's the guy that comes through. And he also has a different perspective on things, because the wonderful thing about hidden battles is we have on our board, we have a bunch of different people who don't have like-minded opinions. We always look at it from different points of view to tackle problems that we are saying this needs to be addressed. But to go back to what Hidden Battles is we're activity-driven therapy. We're not therapeutic. We're not clinical. We're therapeutic. We get together doing stuff like yoga and hiking and mindfulness stuff, and we do retreats. But it's not just the veteran and first responder we're taking care of. We know that we come home and give that secondary trauma away. We give it to our families because we're so loving and caring, and we like to share. That now our families are now going through things. So we have programs that are specifically for them and their support system, whether it's a best friend or a wife or a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband. They're invited to come to it, because those are the people that should be healing at the same time and being in that community of people who understand it. Because when we were first doing the cooking classes, the support, like we'd have our local heroes, our first responders and veterans, they would bring their friend or wife, whatever. And then it kind of broke up naturally. And then the spouses or the guests were together talking. And then the veterans and first responders were talking. And you would hear the spouses saying, "Oh, yeah, mine does that too, honey. Don't worry about it." Or, "Oh, yeah, that's normal, but this is how you address it." So they were starting to conquer these little challenges in a community-based sort of engagement or peer setting. So that started to become big, and we started to sit back and say, this is a lot bigger than we thought it was ever going to be. The impact that it started to just organically like manifest into with peer support and the community-based healing, it just happened. And it wasn't by design. I will never say that this was my plan to do. My plan was to raise some money for a scholarship, maybe get some people out and hike with me to, one, make me feel better, but to let them know that there's somebody else there. And then just kind of exploded over the last.
It's almost like a seed planted.
Yeah.
And then it just grew.
Yeah. And now I think that to the point now, the hidden battles when it comes to mental health for first responders and veterans, even beyond that, we're the go-to. People call us up, and we pride ourselves on our mission is to be activity-driven therapy for first responders and veterans. Our mission is that. However, because we care about people's mental health and we care about humanity, we'd never say no to anybody. If I can't help you, I know who can help you. It is
Right.
my job as an ambassador of mental health, and Chris's and everybody else on the board of Hidden Battles, and anybody in the Hidden Battles family, to know that if we can't help you, we're going to send you in the direction of people that can help you.
Right.
And that's what it's about. I'll never say, sorry, I can't help you, and hang up. That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
The courage for somebody to reach out and ask for help is enormous. And I don't think people realize when somebody says, I need help. I mean, think about when you're about to move. You dread asking that person with a pickup truck to come help you, right?
Yeah.
Because you're afraid to get the answer no, or to step on a toe or burn a bridge. With mental health, it's the same way. You know, they're vulnerable. They're very vulnerable. They're putting themselves out there like, I need help, or a family member needs help. How do I get help? Because now, guess what? Now we know you're not perfect. Facebook is perfect. Everybody's lives are perfect on Facebook, right?
I like to call social media like the highlight reel. Like if you watch
Yeah.
ESPN, it's all the greatest of things,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
there's a lot of hidden things.
Yep.
Hence, I love the name that you chose as Hidden Battles because that's exactly what it is. These are things that are going on within your mind,
Yep.
pretty much your psyche, your spirit, and the emotions that you feel. And when you mentioned even asking for help, I think of that too, especially if you're looked at as I'm an Army vet or I'm a
Yeah.
Marine or I'm this. It's like you're not trained to look weak. You're trained to be a fighter. You're trained to be on the front lines. You're trained to do all these things. But then you have those hidden battles where you might be struggling and dealing with things. And then, like you said, it's not just you, it's your family.
Yep.
It's whoever's closest to you that also have to deal with that. And I'd like to segue to you, Chris, too, to see, because you started, he said, when you were 12. Like, what has your experience been like working, with this organization?
Yeah, so I grew up in Westford where Scott worked, and as he said, I was very heavily involved with like the farmers market that was there. It was honestly just for community service hours. So I went to Westford Academy, graduated in 2010, and part of Westford Academy's thing is you need community service. So I'm like, listen, the farmers market's like 4 minutes from my house, like perfect. I can get in, get out. Ended up meeting Scott. Like, I've always had an interest in public safety. That's what I wanted to go study in school anyway. And I had some different events over the course of my high school career that, Scott's been actually involved in. So there was shooting that happened with one of my classmates where she ended up dying. Scott was one of the first ones on that call. So, like, we share that bond. There was another call where classmates' parents ended up getting into a domestic altercation, and again, another shots fired call. Scott was part of that in a couple different ways. So we've kind of shared that bond on some things.
Right.
And I knew right from high school, like, I wanted to be a police officer. That was my end goal. So I went to Salem State and studied criminal justice. I currently work for a larger law enforcement agency. I work in a communications division. So what that means is I really do the dispatch side of the house. So I've done everything from 911 to I've worked details on the road. I don't do details anymore, but because of the reform bill that Massachusetts passed, where reserve and special police officers were kind of taken off the street. So now I just do my dispatch stuff, and it's a different perspective. Like Scott was saying, is that when somebody calls 911, you're really the first person that's responding to that incident. You're the ones that's hearing the screams. You're the ones that's hearing, help me, my baby's not breathing, and giving them instructions on how to do CPR over the phone. People only call 911 really, from their Apple Watch when they've hit it the wrong way, or when they have an emergency. And an emergency for many people could be different things. For an older generation, it's my television's not turning on, I don't have electricity. And Scott knows what those were, because anytime you dial 911, you have to send a police officer to it.
Right.
So I'm sure Scott saw that side of the house. I'm the one that would be sent. I didn't work for the police department, he did, but I'd be the one sending him to, hey, can you go to 123 Main Street for, this lady again called 911 because her TV's off. But then you have the other side of things where, as I said, you're given CPR instructions to somebody who just may have lost a loved one. And now you deal with that differently because as a dispatcher, you don't always get closure of what the call is. So there's multiple different types of 911 calls and how they come in, and that could be a completely different episode just on that. But it's not always with your department or somebody that you're close with in other outside agencies. So you never know exactly what happens to those calls, and it's not easy to get some of these reports to say, hey, what actually happened here?
Right.
And so dealing with that mental mindset, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Whereas police officers, firefighter, 9 times out of 10, they do kind of get the closure. They know what the outcome is by transporting that person to the hospital, or they have the connections at the hospital that, oh yeah, the person made it. No, actually this person didn't make it, or whatever it might be. So you deal with it very differently. So just like Scott, get off the couch and start doing things. And when Scott told me exactly what Hidden Battles was about, I hopped on board. I helped him with all the social media stuff, and I was like, all right, what more can I do? This is too easy. Give me something else.
Yeah.
So he started bringing me in for other different things, and then I started going out and getting sponsors, and then helping him with different events. And I was like, oh, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that. And working my way through my career path, I was like, I've always had Scott as, somebody to look up to and to kind of be there if I needed advice on something.
Right.
And again, it's one of those things with the mindset of, I think I'm well ahead of the curve than some other people that may be just starting out, because now I knew from starting my public safety career what signs and symptoms were, what to look for. People who are starting now that may not know a lot of mental health stuff, they'll just be like, oh yeah, it's fine, and they may not know how to already deal with it before it even happens.
Right.
Whereas, being part of Hidden Battles, I was able to get really that inside.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. And I've been friends now with you, I don't even know how many years. And it didn't start just with Hidden Battles, but, just being a part of a lot of the work that you're doing too, and being able to offer what I can, and just seeing the different resources that you have at your various events and the people that you're able to connect people with. Tell me a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, about, because I know you mentioned you've done cooking classes, you do the ruckers, and then you also do or rucks. I said the wrong things. I'm like, ruckers like the park, the basketball park? That's not it.
The university.
But the rucks, and then also, I know you have an event coming up, which we'll get into, but if someone that's listening now or is interested in learning a little bit more, what would be some of the things that you would say, to help, especially because coincidentally today we all know what happened, 23 years ago, and just the impact that some people may still be suffering from, that they may not realize they're having PTSD on it, even if they weren't there. But what would be some of the resources or just, just organizations that you would say, this is probably who you should reach out to, or in your local area, that kind of thing, to help people out?
It kind of depends, because not one shoe fits every foot.
Yeah.
So it starts with conversation, where somebody may say, I have a veteran who's struggling with substance abuse, or a first responder with substance abuse. And we all know that substance abuse could be a huge factor of mental health. It's a byproduct of mental health a lot of the time. So it's a conversation like, all right, so, one, maybe we need to get them to a place like Onsite or into Bannon, or there's a bunch of different places that specifically have programs for specific people. First responders and veterans, they have programs straight up just for them. So I would say, all right, let's have that conversation. I would direct them towards that. I would say for the everyday normal person, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has a great page. They have programs for everybody, from teens all the way to elderly, for people who are survivors of suicide, which means that somebody in their family has taken their lives. NAMI, the North American Mental Health Initiative, I think NAMI has a great program. But realistically, if you have a question, or you say, hey, this might not be mental health, but you can always reach us at info@hiddenbattlesfoundation.org. Our programs, we do so many different programs because like I said, it's not everybody's interested in hiking. Not everybody's interested in couples cooking classes, art therapy, stuff like that. So we try to change it up. We work with different organizations for fly fishing. And one thing that we do also pride ourselves on also is we understand that it's not us that does all the work. We can't do it ourselves. We specialize in just a certain fraction of what could be done. So we do align ourselves with amazing organizations like Rifles to Rods and 22 Mohawks and Hellfish Haven and Special Matthew Pelini Fund, because they do a different mission. And we have to stay true to our mission, because if we don't, we'll water it down and it's just not the way it is. But we've aligned ourselves and have this great network. It's like a net that we cast over the whole thing, where we're going to grab you one way or another, or I'm going to refer you. Like I said before, if I can help you, I know who will. But when we work with partners like Rifles or Rods, we offer a fly fishing package, a fly fishing course. And I have to say, not one thing costs any money. When we have a program, it doesn't cost you any money. Sometimes we ask for a deposit because we noticed on some of our more expensive things, people will say, I want to go, and then they don't show.
Right.
And that still costs us money. So by doing a small deposit, which you get back at the end of the event, we get them there. But when we do fly fishing, or we do a night at Fisher Cat, because we used to rent out or get a whole section at Spinners, and we would fill it with first responders and their families. But now we're doing it with Fisher Cats. And so on nights like that, we take a small donation, but those are good to reconnect the families. It's to draw a different crowd in. But art therapy or cooking therapy or something, we just try to do so many different things to draw and pique the interest of other of other things, because people might get bored going, oh, I've been to 6 of the cooking classes. But then we have people go, yeah, I've been to 6 of the cooking classes and I'm going to 6 more.
Right.
And like the impact, like people say what foundations and businesses, how you measure impact. If you go to our webpage, hiddenbattlesfoundation.org, we have a testimonies page, and they're not paid. There's not Amazon reviews where somebody got a free product and they write this crap. We actually have real testimonies from people who have voiced, one, it takes a lot to voice that you have a mental health issue or somebody in your family does. But testimonies are saying, my husband did this and he's a first responder and he didn't smile for 3 months. And we went to a cooking class and we haven't missed one yet. Like, that's huge.
Right.
And that says it's great. And then we have people coming back. I mean, to see people come, and when we first started out, we were everywhere, farmers markets, car shows, stuff like that. We were lucky enough that Bob Howard, who's now a friend of ours, we call him Uncle Bob, when he owned Heritage Ice Cream, he invited us to come down and set up a tent at a classic car night. And we got there and I set it up, and it was the whole summer, and I committed to it, and I don't like, breaking my word. The first night we were there, nobody came to my table. He's like, is it worth it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm like, but we committed, so we're going to go.
Right.
So eventually people came to our table. And then the more that I kept advertising it on social media, hey, we're going to be here, come down, get ice cream, whatever, the more people started showing up. And it wasn't to see the cars, it was to come down and see us.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually we started to notice that across the street there were families from Hidden Battles that had met each other at Hidden Battles events, sitting having ice cream. And I'm like, this is great. Like, this is what we need.
Yeah. Building that community network.
And it just happened. And through that, we started a really good relationship with Uncle Bob. And then we started to host a Jeep night there on Wednesday nights, which was bringing in anywhere from 6 to 20 Jeeps. And that's a sub-community in itself. So you have the Jeepers and the veterans that are coming to the Jeeps and meeting new people who have something in common with Jeeps. And it's just, it's magical, right? Disney's going to sue me. So it was a magical experience for people to start coming out and meeting new people that have never met each other before, or possibly never could have met each other before if it wasn't for us doing a different type of activity,
Right.
and not so much like completely out of the box therapy. I mean, this isn't us sitting around, although we do have a group night at Tuesday nights at the Y where we sit around and talk. However, these aren't those. These
Right.
aren't, because people are afraid of labels, right? Because labels are a double-edged sword, like we explained earlier. The nation's finest, the nation's bravest, right? The few, the proud, like we have all these wonderful slogan labels
For
on
all
people.
the different branches.
And then you're going to
of
say,
the
hey, you know
military.
what? I don't live up to the few, the proud, or the bravest, or the
Right.
finest, because I'm dealing with some mental health stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what do? So now they kind of climb back in there. But if you start to get them around and they get out and now they're letting that go, and I'm hanging out with somebody who has problems like me, I will tell you, veterans now, it's to the point, it's great. Veterans now will sit down and they'll say, you got a rating for PTSD? And they said, yep. Oh, good. And a rating is meaning that the military has acknowledged the fact that you have a disability of post-traumatic stress. And when we sit there and talk about it, it's awesome to hear veterans openly say, oh, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to get fire and police going, yeah, I go to a therapist. Oh, who do you go to? Oh, yeah. Oh, I heard they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go to this person.
And it's funny that you said that people go to therapists too, like fire and police, because now there's more and more agencies out there that are like, hey, they want you to,
Encouraging it.
they want to encourage it, and they're giving like kind of a reward, if you will, for going. They're like, oh, we'll give you an extra 3 days off, or we'll give you this. And I see a lot of departments doing that now, but that's a huge first step, because now you're getting into the door for somebody
Right.
who maybe like doesn't want to ask for help. And I just want to say that like asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. That's a huge
Correct.
strength.
Right.
And some of these people, everybody's afraid of, and Scott can touch on it a little bit more, but like the unfit for duty thing clause that people always talk about. Oh, they're going to take my badge. They're going to take my gun. They're going to take me this, that, and the other thing. Well, just ask for help. Like there's
Right.
all of these little policies, protocols, everything in place for that. And if you kind of just start fresh and early, you might be able to unload a lot of that baggage. And another great resource is 988, so the National Suicide
yeah.
Prevention Lifeline. So you can call or text it, or you can do an online chat with it. It's available in multiple different languages. So if English isn't your first language, don't be discouraged by that, because they do have interpreters and translators that can assist you. But it's not just for somebody who's in a mental health crisis. They have resources, and they have the ability to connect you with other local agencies or nonprofit resources to
Right.
really help you out. So that's another great tool is
So is 988 a national?
yep
Okay.
yep 988
So
is the
just
national
I
number.
just wanted to clarify for those
Yeah.
who may be watching, so that way they know that if I call and they don't live here in Massachusetts or in the greater Merrimack Valley, that they'll be able to still be connected with somebody maybe closer to where they live.
Correct.
Yeah,
because-
it's not 911. It's
Yeah.
988.
No, 988, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And I will say the one thing about 988, so it's based off of your area code. So Lowell's 978. So if you call from a 978 number, and it doesn't have to be just your cell phone, it could be a landline, whatever,
Right.
you get a 988
local.
organization that's local.
Oh,
if you're
perfect.
visiting Lowell
Yeah.
and coming here for, like, let's say the Folk Fest or any of the other sporting events that Lowell has to offer, concerts, music series, whatever it might be, and you're coming in from, let's say, the Boston area, 617. If you dial 988, you're going to get somebody in the Boston area, even though you are physically here in Lowell.
Right.
And the reason for that is they just obviously
based it off of-
they
yeah.
base it off of your area code. And I know that 988 and the FCC, not the FCC, the FCC are working on all the
Yeah.
kind of logistical things for that. So they're hoping to broaden the spectrum a little bit, so it's
Right.
not just area wide to that. But yeah,
Yeah.
988's a outstanding source. And the other thing that they can do is if you go to hiddenbattlesfoundation.org, there is a resources tab up there.
Yeah.
And there's numerous amount of phone numbers and organizations that can assist for certain demographics and people.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I know we spoke about all the amazing things that your organization is doing and making a difference within the lives of our veterans, first responders, which I can say I always appreciate all of what everyone does, because I am not running into a fire. I am not running into danger and harm.
Yep.
I am a scaredy cat. I don't even like spiders and snakes. So
I like to
I
say,
could not imagine, the things you see. Because I know for me, it's like I'm a true crime documentary buff.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always am like, I can only imagine what that would be like if I saw that like in real life,
Yeah.
because obviously they're not showing you the things you truly
Mm-hmm.
see or deal with. And I'm like, that is not my calling,
Mm.
but I really appreciate all the people that do that, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a true hero to do that. And I feel like to be committed, and for decades that people give in their life to do that, there's something to be said. So like I said, the service is definitely
one of
appreciated.
our hidden heroes that we also take care of is our trauma medical staff and nurses.
Mm-hmm.
They are the forgotten heroes. And I think like post COVID, COVID changed a lot, especially for mental health, where it actually brought mental health to the forefront. However, the impact of what had COVID had done to our nurses and trauma medical staff is going to be, it's going to have to be dealt with for a long time.
Yeah.
And we welcome those. We've always welcomed nurses in even before COVID, but I think it's necessary for them to know that we are there for them. Because when people talk about first responders, we literally right off the bat, if somebody dials 911, it's that whole train of service. You get the dispatcher, the police, the fire, the EMS, and then the trauma medical staff because realistically, people don't understand the trauma that they go through. And there's a huge suicide rate when it comes to that whole line of protective care. And people overlook that and don't realize that the nurses, they're just, I know if you have a nurse, you appreciate them if they're in your life. But for people who don't necessarily have one in their life, I don't think they understand the trauma that they go through and the stress and the anxiety that they get through all just doing their everyday job. And, you know, and it's overlooked a lot, but we don't overlook them.
Yeah, I know quite a few nurses, and I've heard stories during COVID and then post, when the lockdown and all that. And it's definitely taken a toll emotionally, mentally, you know, like psychologically, spiritually too.
Yeah.
And then especially, you know, for those who have families and young loved ones. And I remember a friend of mine mentioning a story because she talked about what she had to go through just when she got home during the pandemic. She couldn't even just like come home and hug her kids. She's like almost like going through this whole
Decontamination
sterilization process of her body before she can even. So it was just like it took a toll on a lot of people. 100%, I would definitely agree with that. But that's such a great point to bring up, because you're right, because they're the ones that ER nurses, the physicians, different things like that, because it takes a village. And I feel like the village of what you're building is amazing. And I hope that they're listening so they
I hope so.
can see what resources that are available to them, so that way
So we
they'll
do,
be able to know.
we have an awesome program coming up, and hopefully the people that are listening, get your pens out for this one. We just got a grant from the 100 Women Giving of Greater Westford gave us a grant, which is going to fund a 6-week program at Strongwater Farm for post-traumatic stress, and it's going to be an equine program. And we're actually accepting attendees for that now. And it's 1 day a week, and it's completely fully funded. And we welcome nurses to get in on that. And I know that scheduling's hard,
Right.
but I think if you were to go to Human Resources and say, this is a program, it's true and it
really
works.
need it.
I mean, we did it with Tewksbury Fire and Tewksbury Police as kind of our guinea pig thing. And both chiefs rave about it. The impact it made positively on the mental health, and even the way that it affected the community by dealing with good mental health minded people.
Right.
You know, it is, it's like a pebble in a pond. You drop it and the ripples affect it.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that pebble is in good shape mentally and physically, those ripples are going to affect people more positively. So I think if people get on board and jump in on that program, like I said, it's fully funded, and
Yeah, because you think about the balance of missing a shift versus how is this going to help me so I can be more effective in what
in the
I'm
long
doing?
run, it's going to
what I mean?
because listen, healthcare is, and law enforcement and public safety is a business, right? But the product you're going to get is going to be a better product for you know the clientele, which is the general public.
The community,
But what's going to cost less? Is it going to cost less to put somebody in a 6-week program for an hour and a half a day, or them calling out sick because their mental health is just diminished so bad,
or not being able to fully function on their their job?
And that's what we say. There's the scales of justice. So think about the long-term effects of this. And I think that one, not only does it get them better, but it actually shows that you care.
Right.
You know, as an employer or a supervisor or a human resource, it shows that you care about your employees and that you want them to be healthy. I mean, realistically, mental health is the only thing that you will never feel comfortable calling out of work for.
Yeah.
Like, you'll call up and you'll say, oh, yeah, my stomach's bothering me. I can't leave the toilet. Nobody has a problem saying that. But nobody can call up their work and say, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm having a mental health day. I am not feeling well. My depression's kicking in and I don't feel well coming to work.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to do that. But they'll say, oh, yeah.
Most people won't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm extremely hungover. I am not coming into work.
Right.
Like, that's okay.
Right.
But we can't address the fact that I'm having a bad mental health day and I can't come in.
I'm a unicorn. I definitely will say that. But like, today is not my day. I will be 100% tomorrow. I just need to not log in, and we're going to just keep it pushing. But I'd like to segue, if you will, into tell us about what we can expect next from Hidden Battles on September 20th.
So it is our first ever casino night gala. And gala, we use the word gala because we've always wanted to have a swanky event.
Yeah.
But that does not mean you have to dress swanky.
So they don't have to come formal.
No. Come business casual. Just, all right. It's not, I don't know what's happened in society, but I've been to a couple funerals lately, and when people show up in sneakers and shorts, that's kind of disturbing to me.
Yeah.
Don't show up in sneakers and shorts.
So maybe business professional.
Yeah. So, you know what? Nice pair of pants. Because when you say
business casual,
dress like you're coming on T-show.
Yeah.
All right. Just, you know, nice pair of pants, a nice shirt. But the event's going to be, it's going to be amazing. It's our first ever. It's at Lindsay, so you know it's going to be good because the food's going to be amazing. We have Crown Entertainment's going to be there. So, well, I mean, we have that. We have this an up and coming jazz band out of Lowell. Yeah, T and the Gents.
That's right.
Wait, jazz band?
You guys are jazzy. Jazz.
Oh, we're jazzy. Is that going to be the adjective?
Well, so during the cocktail hour, you're going to be jazzy. But no, so. Yeah, T and the Gents is going to play. You know her, the singer.
I know, I've heard of her. She's
you're
right.
not as good as her.
Yeah,
but
no, she's
her singing is
terrible.
amazing. But so you guys are going to be playing during the whole evening. But like I said, Crown Entertainment's going to be playing music in between. Jay Frazier from Magic.
A Creative Magic Experience.
He's going to be walking around doing card tricks. We actually have a professional casino company coming out that's going to run games. Blackjack, Texas Hold'em, 21, craps, roulette. I'm going to have a Go Fish table just for the fun. But we literally have this coming out. And to think that you're not going to have fun and go, oh, it's casino, I never lend any money. These casino companies teach you while you're playing. They're not just there to scrape money and take it away from you.
Right.
And you don't actually win any money. You actually win the opportunity to get raffle tickets to purchase the amazing raffles that we're going to have that evening.
Well, that's always a good message to let the people know who might be playing Keno and do scratches.
Yeah.
You're not winning real money. You're getting raffle tickets to win prizes.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gambling on gambling.
You're gambling on a potential gamble.
And there's some pretty awesome raffle prizes, not going to lie.
Yeah, we have amazing raffle prizes. But what we want everybody to know is, so listen, I love every organization that I've ever been to any of their fundraisers, but you go to the fundraiser and you pay a lot of money and you get a good meal and you sit there and you listen to people talk and tell you about their amazing mission, which you know about because you're there.
Right.
I love the testimonies to hear about the great stories that have happened over the last one that I've been to, because I think that's very impactful. That is not tonight. That night, you're going to hear amazing music. You're going to be around amazing people. You're going to have amazing food. You're going to be entertained, and you're going to give back to a great organization. I am not going to get up and talk for 25 minutes and say, I was just on T's show. If you want to see it, that's Hidden Battles.
Just go right on there.
Just go in, have a great time, and support our great mission. I mean, we do almost 100 events a year, right? We service approximately 1,600 local individuals because we're local to Merrimack Valley in southern New Hampshire. I mean, we started in Lowell. We have an office in Dracut, and we serve this area. We serve your neighbors. You know, we serve your family members, and that's where the money's going. It's not going. We're 100% volunteer. You're not paying my salary. You're not paying Chris' salary. You're paying for programs and good quality programs. I've never had anybody leave a program and go, oh, you know what? I can't believe that was so skimpy. Like, or, you know, oh yeah, it wasn't good because I had to wait in line to fly fish. Like, no, you're getting a good program.
And it's funny that, you know, Scott says that you're not going to pay my salary or his salary because
Oh my God.
We don't get paid.
Right.
This is 100%
Yeah, and
all
I
volunteer.
lose a lot of
Your
money
heart,
this year.
your heart is in it, and I think that's what's great. So casino night is Friday, September 20th.
Yep.
Cocktail hours from 5:30 to 6:30,
and then
and then the program starts. It's at 7.
it's at 6:30. The doors to the hall open up.
Yeah.
So during cocktail hour, there are complimentary drinks thanks to our sponsors. We have the Mackey family from Tewksbury. We have 22 Rally.
Bella Luxury Transportation.
Yeah. Planned Perfectly Wedding Events. We have a bunch that have sponsored the cocktail hour. But during the cocktail hour, you're going to learn how to play the games.
Mm-hmm.
The casino folks are going to be there and give tutorials on how to play games.
Nice.
So you're going to learn. So you're not going to walk in like my wife and blow all her money in 20 seconds. Like, you're going to get in there. We went to a casino once, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to play this. And then 2 seconds later, she tapped me on the shoulder. I'm like, what? She's like, I'm out of money. I'm like, how? We just got here.
Already? We just got here.
That's not going to happen to you that night.
She put all her eggs in one basket.
I don't know what she did.
I'm gonna need to leave my wife at home. Anytime she comes to the casino with me, I lose money. If she can come, she just can't be in the same room as me.
Yeah.
And it was proven because when we went to Vegas, that exactly happened where she was standing next to me. I was losing. She goes, I'm going to go walk around. I was like, bye. As soon as she's gone, jackpot. I'm like, fantastic. Then she comes back. I'm going down.
And then it was done.
It was done.
You used all your luck landing her. We'll just put it that way.
This is true.
That's what it is.
This is true.
What it is. So, also, I wanted to say, are you still looking for people to be sponsors?
So,
and
yes.
even if it's not just for this event, but just talk a little bit about
So
who you have
because
for
because
sponsors.
we are funded by donations, 100%, but we do write grants, but we're constantly looking for sponsors, and I like to call them partners, because I don't want somebody to just give me money. I want them to understand and be vested in our mission, because when they're proud of what we do, and then they're more apt to help us again financially and even voluntarily.
Right.
So we're always looking for more sponsors. That night, yes, absolutely, we could use more sponsors. Then a month later, on October 18th, we have our annual golf tournament, which we're still looking for whole sponsors for.
Okay.
And all that information, you can go right to our Facebook page, or even it's the Hidden Battles Facebook page, or we can go to hiddenbattlesfoundation.org, and there's information there also. Or you can give us a call.
Email at
info at
info@hiddenbattlesfoundation.org for all those who are listening.
Absolutely.
So hiddenbattlesfoundation.org, or email at info@hiddenbattlesfoundation.org
Correct.
if you're interested, so they can go on the website and see all the things we've been talking about today.
Absolutely.
Too, so they can see the events. And then they can email directly, maybe ask questions and see how they can help. And then even volunteer, because I know you have
absolutely.
volunteer opportunities as well.
Yep.
In addition to your non-paid volunteers.
Yes, exactly.
That work with you.
Well, those are called voluntolds.
Voluntold.
The
Yeah, the
Chris is a voluntold. If
yes.
you'd like to not be a voluntold and be a volunteer, you can.
But even with our volunteers, so we have a lot of volunteers who are even our board members who are not veterans or first responders that want to be involved. And volunteering is a way to be involved. I mean, you get to participate in the events. You get to be around like-minded people.
Right.
And our circle is very welcome to people who openly support us.
Right.
So when we do have, because we have a bunch of people like Sherilyn Bulger, she likes to come and volunteer, and her father was a veteran, but she comes and she gets it, and she's there for us and supports us, and that's comforting. Because a lot of time people have made political views on certain things, and they like, oh, well, I don't like them because I was told not to like them. And that's not right, because you have to meet them as individuals. And when we do meet people who give us a little, backing, or even just that reassurance that we are still doing a good job, or we're good people regardless, then that's what we need.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand with that, because I think too, sometimes people's emotions get involved in things.
Absolutely.
And you make assumptions versus, like you said, having those conversations, which I think is very important. And again, like I said, because I know I'm not trying to be a police officer. I am not going to no fires. I'm not going to be an EMT. I'm not going to be certain things. And it's just the respect for, the roles that you guys have held.
Yep.
And then even just past that, supporting those who are struggling with have done that. I think that is the biggest message for me when I think about your organization. You know, it's very important to understand the things that people have seen. You
know what I
know?
thought was awesome? We used to do, and we'll probably go back to, we used to do the cornhole tournament, and this year we took a break from it.
You did, and I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to be petty
I
and
know.
bring it up. But
See, the cornhole tournament was amazing because it brought every walk of life together.
yeah,
And you would get every walk of life where in our society, we're very stereotypical. Like we look at people and instantly, like I will give you an example, and it's not a negative thing. I go to the supermarket and I play a game with myself. I walk down the aisle and I look at somebody's carriages, and by the contents of their carriage, I make up their life story, right? It's funny because I'll look and I'll go, all right, 3 bags of cat food and a lean cuisine. Single cat person, right? Like I'll do it, right?
not the single
Right.
cat lady.
Right. So, so I'll see that, right? So as society, we do that, right? On a like a maybe a more negative or positively like plane, but when we have the cornhole tournament, we brought all walks of life together, and we had people playing with each other who maybe didn't have the best outlook on the police or a veteran or a first responder or a nurse or something. And then they're playing with somebody who they may be like, that guy wears his hat sideways or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like them. And they're playing side by side and laughing and now making friends with each other because you know what? They're humans at that point. There's no uniform involved. And they understand that, you know what? Yeah, it's my job. But however, and it was amazing to see that happen as we would stand back and look and go, this is awesome. Like
Well, I
laughing.
know
and
I
being
saw
joy.
that too, because
Yeah.
that's when I first really started getting involved with hidden battles. So this year, you're like, no, we're not doing cornhole. I was like,
We needed
what?
a break. Yeah, we needed
Yeah,
a
we
break.
definitely needed a break. I mean, the cornhole tournament and family day, it's as Scott said, it's great. It's great to bring people together, but
Yeah.
all of the logistical things.
Well, yeah, because
It
you
was
guys,
breaking us.
Yeah, you guys brought in like all the different cars and trucks, and then you had the simulation with the dogs.
Dog, yeah.
And then on top of that, you had food.
I will
and
say
then
I
you
will
had the
I will
bouncy
miss
house.
getting bit this year.
No, I'll you can still get bit. I'll arrange that. I don't miss getting bit at all.
Really?
Yeah, those videos are up. No, because that dog always hated me. There was extra hate in the bites that I got. So we're talking about the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department would send their canine unit out, and they had Pebbles and Dylan. And Pebbles was a tracking dog, and she was a beautiful little dog.
She just retired.
Who would sniff out stuff. And then Dylan hated me like I kicked him as if he was a puppy. I don't know what his problem with me was, but he didn't do the normal bite on the sleeve. He would knock me to the ground and then
I
drag me
remember
10 feet.
seeing
Like
that.
that
Yeah.
dog hated me, and for no reason. Like I did nothing to him. But it was good. It was a crowd pleaser, and then I realized how many people hated me, but were there just for the cause, because they came to support the cause.
They were
but
like, we came to support Dylan and watch him take Scott down.
I felt like I was on Gladiator. Like they were like the roars. It was. Yeah.
The funny thing is that was the one biggest question that everybody would like message us in is,
'Cause they
hey,
wanna
what time's the
see-
canine demonstration?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I remember the first time I saw it, and I was like, you could not pay me enough money.
That was
to
the year
be in
it
that
took me
suit.
down. Like took
Yeah,
me down
I
to the
saw
ground
it.
and dragged me.
And
I
that's
was,
why I was like, no thanks. I
Yeah.
was like, I'll just be over here. I'll be at the beginning. I'm going to do the anthem. And then I'm going to step to the side and have me a hamburger or a hot dog.
sit back and dinner and a show. Fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's really what it is. But I appreciate you guys so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
I just say, well, right now it's September, and September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. There's nobody flying flags. It's not the most publicized thing. And I think that we need to get to the point where people are talking about it more openly. I lost my brother, and it's painful. However, I talk about it because I want other people to talk about it. And then I celebrate his life daily. I do mourn him, but I celebrate his life, and I try to do more good in his honor. To inspire other people to do good and to feel comfortable with saying, yeah, I'm suffering from losing a loved one or suicide, or I feel that way, I'm suicidal, or I've thought about how the world's going to be if I'm not here. And I think that should be more open. And I think that it should be the message that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to reach out for help and to find your support system. Find somebody that you feel comfortable with. You know, find that person that if your car breaks down at 2 a.m, who can I call? We all have that person.
Right.
You should have that for your mental health also.
Yeah. Agreed. Anything from
Yeah,
you,
the
Chris?
one thing I just want to add is that, you know, if you want more information on whatever, you know, Scott or I talked about today, hiddenbattlesfoundation.org, our contact cards on there, all of our social media, our events, resources, it's all available right there.
Right.
And it's okay to ask for help. So if you don't want to email us, that's fine. But there's like a contact us page where you can just throw in info and we can get back to you that way.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, did you know we have a radio show and a podcast?
Oh, that's right.
So that's something important that we didn't bring up. So we have a weekly radio show where we bring all of the organizations in to talk about mental health. And that's on Monday nights, and we're on WSMN out of Nashville. However, we live stream on Facebook, on Hidden Battles Facebook, every Monday night from 7 to 9. So it's serious talk, but with some humor.
Yes.
And you can get a lot of good information out of it. And it's a lot of local organizations. So it's going to be that shoe fits the foot.
Right.
You know, if you're looking for somebody, we've had greater Merrimack Valley Food Bank on. They've talked about their programs. So it's not necessarily hidden battles. It's what this community needs and what the community programs have. So we do that too.
sure.
So I think that's important to mention.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you both for joining me today on
Thank
my
you.
third edition of Tea Time. And then also, I would just like to send love out to all the family and those affected by September 11th
Absolutely.
as well, because this is also a day of remembrance. And I don't think it's an accident that we're here today, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are struggling today. And I just really appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm sure the community members who've worked with you guys do, because I know people who do. I told them I was going to be with you guys today, and they were like, "I wish I could go." I'm like, "Sorry, we only got a few spaces on here, but
Yeah. We are a
thank
fun
you
crowd.
guys.
I'll give it
Yeah,
that.
we are fun. So thank you for joining us on Tea Time with Inside Lowell, with Scott and Chris from Hidden Battles. And as they mentioned, if you'd like more information, you can follow them on Hidden Battles on Facebook, or you can go to their website, hiddenbattlesfoundation.org. Or if you have information or would like to be a partner, info@hiddenbattles.org, and they would love to connect with you. Thank you so much. And thank you to all those who serve. We love you. We appreciate you. And those who have served and those who gave their lives. So we just want to say thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.